Alright, how's everyone doing? Welcome to the Rich CELENZA show. WTF are you talking about? Hopefully the audio will be decent for this. I'm in a car. I'm getting ready to head to the gym. I got these assholes doing landscaping. Florida, does it ever end with rain and landscaping? You gotta do what you gotta do. Anyways, I'm actually getting ready to take off here soon. Waiting for my girlfriend and her daughter. So I noticed that Comic-Con's around the corner. I used to love living in San Diego. That place, Comic-Con, is unbelievable. Obviously, there's so much shit going on. You don't even got to go inside the convention to check out most of it, truthfully. I mean, the bars, the restaurants, the side of the buildings, the whole energy of that place is just a beast. And actually, so is Orlando, Florida, MegaCon. And then obviously, there's tons of that shit going on, man. I mean, every city, every major city, Chicago, New York, Philly, they all have their cons now. I think the two best, obviously, are San Diego and Florida that I've seen. I don't know. So, but that's not, that's here nor there. I was kind of thinking about this with my young guys, with my Mastering Self-Confidence program. It's called Mastering Self-Confidence, obviously, and it's the blueprint to find the woman of your dreams, even if you've been through a bad breakup or divorce. But I think I realized, I've been discussing this with other people, especially young guys, man, they are kind of in the weeds as far as really not knowing how to take advantage of certain things. And one of these things is obviously like just setting themselves up to be in the right place at the right time to meet beautiful, intelligent women. Or just women in general. So I was just thinking about, actually even today, it was a fluke. I forgot even Comic-Con's around the corner. And then I popped on Yahoo, and it was showing me photos and stuff from obviously Comic-Con. But it made me think back. Let me go back a little bit here. So my father owned a nightclub and a restaurant. So I was going actually to conventions in the heyday of when they really just started to become, I think, really well known. Much different than now. I think conventions are kind of being weeded out, truthfully. I mean, there's big conventions. I'm not going to say conventions don't exist and they're not still very powerful. But so my father owned a nightclub and a restaurant. So we were going to Edward Don. We were actually going to the McCormick place for my father to find equipment for his bar and restaurants. All the different latest equipments for bartending. I remember they introduced that first, and I'm going back to the 70s now. The first time the spinning to clean the glasses, that kind of came out. All these different things. All these unique things. The first thing on how to split crab legs came out. Oyster thing, where you split the oyster in half. All these things were huge. And the only way you could find these products is obviously, for the most part, is by going to these conventions. And Chicago at that time in the heyday, in the 70s and 80s, the McCormick place was the hub, I think, of conventions. So was Chicago, because it was central. Everybody'd come in. Now it kind of bounces between Orlando, Vegas, other areas. A lot of conventions kind of shuffle to major cities now. So the one I'm involved with always, like, it was at Philly, then it was in Arizona, and then it jumped to one of them, maybe Orlando, and then it was Dallas, Chicago. Anyways, you get the point. But the bottom line was, when you go to these conventions, there's obviously booths set up, as you know, and you're walking around. There's tons of people there. Even car shows, right? So I was just thinking about my young guys, especially even at Comic-Con or MegaCon. They're there, and they're on all these women, and they're too focused in on, which is fine. I understand why you're there. You're there to see the latest trailers. You're there to see the latest characters. You're there to meet some of your heroes in your past, take photos, look at all the new products, all these different things. I get it. But if you just shift a little of your focus to balance out, just a little bit, where you start to focus in on, or actually just understand your environment, you'll realize you're around a lot of women. And again, I'm not saying this from a pervert perspective, or sex is always on your mind, or it's got to be on your mind, or you got to always be focusing in on flirting with women or any of that. But it is right there. Even when I was younger, well, actually, my buddy used to, now that I think about it, used to go to Comic-Con in San Diego with his brother. He does Silly Daddy. His name's Joe Chiappetta. One of my closest and oldest friends was Nino. And he went once, and originally, I'm talking the 80s, He went to Comic-Con when it was in a gymnasium in San Diego. That's how old that is, because truthfully it started obviously with comic books. That was the main focus of it. Obviously, that's why it's called Comic-Con. But even now, listen, young guys, I don't care if you're married, divorced, or whatever the hell you are. You most likely go to car shows. You may go to boat shows. And I'm talking in conventions, obviously, sometimes. And you're walking up and down the aisles, and you'll see, obviously, all different things for sale, or different booths, marketing their materials, or whatever they're pitching. And a lot of them have, attractive-looking women. Obviously, some even have models. So I write about that, actually, in my book called The Model Bible. Believe it or not, I wrote a book about modeling. I used to model when I was younger, and I know a lot about the fashion industry. So I wrote a book about it. But, again, a lot of times it's how you kind of go up there, address it, talk to them. A lot of these women are just there to stand around, obviously, and just bullshit. They get hired for the weekend or for that week. They learn real quick about the product, and they're there, maybe not even to sell the product. They're just there as eye candy, obviously. But a lot of guys, when you're walking through there, you can stop and talk to these girls. What the hell do you have to lose? I don't know if you've ever been to a show in L.A., but you'll jump out of your skin, one of those conventions. There's obviously tons of women everywhere for guys. And here's the thing, again, most likely they're going to talk to you, or they're there to sell you something as well. Even if they're not models, or you got different people there, just learn to, and again, you're not there always to hit on women at a convention, or that type of environment, but just start up discussions. Most likely they're going to hand you a card with a phone number, and see how things go. It's all about really building relationships. I keep trying to tell the young guys this, and even older guys, because I got young guys that don't understand building friendships with women. They've been programmed. They think they're going to slide into the friend zone and all this bullshit, which who gives a shit a lot of times if you're going to slide into the friend zone? Because most likely if you're cool, that girl's going to introduce you to tons of women. I talk about it all the time, man. And also older guys, middle-aged guys, or I don't care how old they are, they just don't know how to have a relationship as a friendship with a woman. They don't just know how to hang out with them, or to use them to their advantage, and vice versa. I don't know what the fuck the problem is having friends that are women. I think you've been programmed too when you're younger. If you do end up with a woman, they don't like you being friends with other women. And you know what? I say fuck them. Don't tell me who I can and can't be friends with. Some of my closest friends are women. I've known them for 20, 30, 40 years since high school, grade school. No one's going to tell me who I can and can't be friends with. And I'll tell you this much. If you do date somebody and you can see how a guy, especially how he treats a lot of women, if he is friends with a lot of women, not from a component of fooling around with them, if he treats them well, he usually knows how to handle himself around women. Again, that doesn't mean sexually. It just means he knows how to be cool around them. He treats them with respect. Anyways, again, so, which is interesting because back to, I grew up in those environments of going to these conventions, and obviously my father's obsessed with cars. I'm going to car shows in the 70s, restaurant industry, and the bar industry. And then as the 80s came, my father went into the vending business, which was really, really interesting because then, for the most part, with vending coming out with Pac-Man, obviously, originally, or games like that, Galaga, or, Space Invaders and all that, he was there for that, and then it went into dark games and all these different things. That's where you obviously went to see the product, and usually, if you wanted a product, you ordered the product right there. So we'd go in and say, hey, we want 140 dark games, or hey, we want 100 and, or we want 80 billiard tables, whatever. You cut deals right there. It's not like that nowadays. Now you kind of bullshit. You walk through a convention. It's more about talking, meeting people, them having, it's usually more about you already having a relationship with clients, I see, and schmoozing them, right? And if you are single and you're going to these, these conventions for work, I see a lot of dudes just getting smashed, partying, but I also see a lot of people being catered to, obviously, and that's what I'm kind of saying is it seems like if you have a relationship business-wise and they're your clients, they schmooze you. Or if you're on the other end, you schmooze them, right? But I would just be cool because I see a lot of people getting smashed, doing shit inappropriately, talking to everybody inappropriately, and it's kind of like an escape, I think, for a lot of men and women when they go to these conventions. Obviously, there's a lot of cheating and all that shit, and that's something I'm not definitely telling you to get involved with, but I just kind of find it really interesting, the whole, convention concept, or these Comic Cons, or, all these different places where all these people kind of come together, and just their behavior in general. But if you're a young dude, or you're just, lonely or whatever the hell, if you live in places like Florida, go to like a convention. I think some are cheap, some are expensive, and I'm not just talking Comic-Con or MegaCon. I'm talking things like, I think they're the Water Show convention. I don't know, but they have beach conventions or something related to that, where obviously it's all beach, where you have PGA. Then you have a separate one, a golf convention, and there's all these different conventions, and the public can go to them. And start doing your research, because you'll find a lot of things, like these conventions have interesting type of things going on, and it's a great place to meet new people, obviously meet women too, if that's what you're interested in, or just market yourself. Yeah. So I think for overall, a lot of these are getting smaller and smaller, so you have more and more opportunity. If they do want to charge you $300, or you have to be a member and blah, 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 I wouldn't do that necessarily. Sometimes they do have like specialty things where you're a first-time visitor and all that stuff. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of cool things out there if you look for them. When I was creating my own clothing line called Sore Loser Wear, a clothing line for people who hate to lose, I would go to the skate show. That's awesome, man. I went to these shows. That's another thing you want to see a lot of beautiful women, I'll tell you right now, is the skate show, Surf and Skate. They have them in California, obviously they have them in Florida, but man, you go there, there's models, and then obviously they got them all walking around in bathing suits. They do shows. And I love extreme sports. They got everything regarding all that shit, man. It is awesome. I mean, rollerblade shit, just all the newest stuff, Vans, and obviously the whole gamut. And it is cool. They even have ramps in there, and they got dudes like professional skateboarders in the middle of the convention going up and down. Another cool show, now that we're on this, is the IEPA show. And that's a show that they have in Orlando. Again, I think it's mainly in Orlando. And that show is for the amusement park and entertainment business, which is crazy because it's a monster. It takes up the whole convention center in Orlando, Florida, which is massive. I think the only show bigger is the construction show, maybe. Maybe there's other shows now that are bigger, medical and stuff. I don't know. But it's massive. And what's cool is everything in there is related to entertainment and obviously amusement parks. I mean, they got mini roller coasters in there. They even show you how they build roller coasters. You can bid on a roller coaster, how many millions of dollars, all these different things, all the different games, all the new products. I remember one time I went in there and it was like dipping dots was the new thing. I walked in there. I was like, what the hell is this? I'm like, this will never work. Obviously, I was wrong about that. It's huge. I remember the first time I saw the Coke machines. The Coke machines were there and Pepsi was over there. So it's those type you could touch. You see them in like Five Guys, McDonald's, some of them. But it's the Cokes where you got like options, 100 and something different flavors you can do. And Coke dominated so much McDonald's. Pepsi shut it down and dipped. They left. But it's got, and they, all these type of things for amusement parks again. And entertainment too. If you've ever been to like Epcot or things like that, you see like statues that come to life or huge shows, like huge even gardens that come to life. It's amazing. That's something to really check out as well. And it is cool. They do trapeze stuff. They do Cirque du Soleil. It's unbelievable. I don't know how the hell we ended up on that subject. And it started off with Mega and Comic-Con, but that's how I work. It's just all over the place. But anyways, now that I'm on it, man, check out those type of places. There's conventions usually everywhere, and they're usually pretty kick-ass. So that's all I got for you regarding that. I'm sweating my ass off, actually. I'm going to go inside the house. I could eat. So anyways, thanks for joining in the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? All right, take care.